All right, welcome to Monday's Zoom call. I'll be taking today. We had a few questions come in, not very many, so hopefully you guys have some questions, or this is going to be fairly short. A reminder to look at your member site, the home page for what's new. And the new thing that pertains to people on this call is going to be that every one of our patients has full access and free access to our courses. So look at our courses page. Currently, we have 4 courses up. Looks like this, that link that you'll see on the home page in green there that says courses, see here. Or you can go to our website, our main clinic website at the top. You'll see courses, and then you can click on that. The genetics course should be up. Thought it was going to be up Friday, but Dustin has a few other things he needs to clean up on it. Should be up today or tomorrow. And so if you haven't had your genetics done, you can look at the genetics course as well. We have some questions on genetics right off the bat here, but you can look at the other courses as well. The access to the courses is the same as your login to the member site. The same username, your main email that you use to communicate with the clinic, and the password that you created to get on the member site should be the exact same username and password. So first questions on the Rife settings, when they talk about essential oils, the blood stimulating setting, where would you put those oils, and do you have to use all of them? So no, that was just a practitioner's protocol for blood stimulating. So no, you don't need to use all of them. And with any essential oils, you want to make sure some oils are hot. Some people are more sensitive. Their skin is more sensitive to essential oils. You certainly don't want to put essential oils directly on your skin and cause irritation. You may have to use a carrier oil that is diluting it with jojoba oil or even olive oil. Some people's skin is not sensitive, but still it's good to change spots. So you could put it on your chest if you're dealing with anything. You could any condition, you could put oils anywhere on your body. Some people like to mix oils together with a carrier oil and put it on the bottom of their feet before they go to bed and have had really good results. So I suggest that you change the spots that you're putting essential oils. If you're putting essential oils on your body on a daily basis, irritation can build up over time. So it's good to change locations where you're putting your essential oils, maybe on your chest, on your sometime on your belly at different times, on your feet at different times. Change it up so you don't end up developing some sort of sensitivity or irritation. How do we do a genetic review when our tests are complete? So make sure that you go back to the member site and look at the genetics page on the member site. So how we're doing genetic reviews right now, we're not doing individual reviews where we're going over the genetics individually one by one anymore. We found that is just not as effective because it's like drinking from a fire hose. So we've created several videos on the genetics home page. That is the page on your member site that's listed. The tab is genetics and genetic review. Go back to that. There is a full genetic review video. So going through a sample of the genes. There's an older one of me going through a sample of the genes from a few years ago. The entire genetics profile that we'll be sending you is over 200 pages long. There's no way that you want anybody to go over all of those. You won't remember a thing the next day. So it's, even if you're savvy on genetics, you need to kind of digest it slowly. So we put together some videos that you can watch, that you can pause, that you can rewind, that you can listen to again and again if you really want to get information on genetics. Understand also that we have an entire genetics course that will be right here that you'll be able to click on, and you can go through that entire course if you really want to nerd out on genetics. I love genetics. It's very fun. It's very interesting. It's correlative to cancer and correlative to other diseases. Knowing one's genetics can be super helpful in, helping prevent things, helping protect yourself in different ways. But genetics is not everything. Epigenetics is everything. So it's really, you could have the worst, let's say, phase 1 liver detox pathway genes, but you could still, none of them could really be affecting you. And if you took care of yourself epigenetically, meaning environmentally and everything, food choices and everything, those might not affect you at all. And even though you have slow detox pathways, the things that you're doing to take care of yourself is definitely overriding all your defects on your genetic pathway. So watch. So how do we do a genetic review? You're going to watch the videos that are on the genetic page. We also send you what's called genetic summary. So we'll summarize the genes and the defects and highlight the ones in yellow that you have either a lot of defects on, or some that we might want to look at more in depth and support from a nutritional pathway, nutritional idea. And then also we send you a plan of action. So we send you a summary, and then we send you an action plan. Most people, all they need is that summary and that action plan, because they can know what to do. There's going to be a couple tweaks based upon that action plan. There are almost always is a couple tweaks. We might want to add something, add a product, or change the diet, or tweak some different things. That's all you need to do. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points of changes that you need to make. And you don't need to become a genetic specialist. All you need to do is look at those bullet points. But if you want, you have more questions on your genes, you can either ask them in the general question, in any of the general question forms on the Zoom call, and we will answer them either on the genetic Q&A Zoom call, which is on Thursday at 2, or on this Zoom call, or on my Wednesday Zoom call. So I will answer them, or Ann will answer those on any of those Zoom calls. So we're always here for you to ask questions, but we're not here to turn you into a genetic specialist. So you can certainly nerd out on any of the videos you want, but we're not going to go gene by gene over your summary with you. You can do that if you certainly want to. Another question, can I have matzo? So matzo is a unleavened flat bread, but it also is still made of flour, and it contains gluten. So if you are supposed to be gluten-free, or it's recommended that you're gluten-free, then the answer is no. So if that is not an issue for you, then certainly you can, but not if you're supposed to be going gluten-free. I see in our cancer protocol binder that we should submit a follow-up cheek swab sample for genetic testing every 3 months. So first of all, that's not correct. You're not submitting a follow-up cheek swab for genetic testing. It is recommended that you submit a follow-up cheek swab in 3 months, just for rechecking, for us to recheck any supplements. It's not for genetic testing. Is this every 3 months after the results come back in? So no. So it's not every 3 months. A lot of people never send in another cheek swab. A lot of people send in a cheek swab even more regularly than 3 months. I actually created a video on our member site. It's on our website too. But on our member site is on the cheek swab section of the site explains when should you get retested, how should you think about that. Is that something you need to do? Some people don't do it at all, like I said. Some people do it more regularly, depending on how their health is doing. Some people, if they're really doing well, those typically are the people that don't get rechecked. All right. How does the Rife work with parasites? Does it zap them like a zapper? So the Rife works best on living organisms. So if you're trying to kill bacteria, if you're trying to kill a virus, if you're trying to kill parasites, that's what the Rife works best on. Except the only caveat to that is that if you're not running, if you're running the viral program and you have parasites, it's going to do literally nothing to a parasite. If you're running a specific parasite program, but you have a different parasite, it's not going to really do anything to that parasite. The larger parasite, like worms, tapeworms, roundworms, it's very difficult. You're really trying to stimulate your immune system to kill those things. You need to use anti-parasitic herbs as well, like wormwood and things like that. But the single cell organisms, that's where the Rife really works well. So the multi-cell organisms, the worms and things like that, it's much more difficult, and you need to use some other protocols as well. When does weight loss become a concern? I'm losing about 2 to 3 pounds per week, which I think is part of the detoxing. It's nice, but not a goal or trying to do. Will this balance out? It's hard to tell. So it becomes a problem if so a person, once they change their diet, okay, let's say they just find out they have cancer, they make some pretty radical dietary changes, it's pretty common that you're going to start losing weight. It becomes a problem when it's like, okay, I am getting below a healthy weight. That is a problem. You don't want to be below a healthy weight for your height and body build. If you're below a healthy weight for your height and body build, you need to call and make an appointment with me, because we cannot be losing 2 to 3 pounds a week. That's just an absolute, cannot let that happen. So we want to make sure that that we're not in a state of cachexia. So cachexia isn't weight loss because you made strict dietary changes, and boy, I did have about 25 pounds to lose. So I'm kind of getting back to maybe my high school weight, and it actually feels good, but I'm not even trying to do it. Cachexia is like, oh my gosh, I'm actually below the, any adult weight that I've ever had, and I'm trying to eat as much as I can, and I still am losing 2 to 3 pounds a week. That is not a healthy state to be in. That's typically when your cancer is gobbling up all your nutrients. If a person is in cachexia, meaning that they are losing 2 to 3 pounds a week, and they're not they're already at or below normal healthy weight, then we need to add other things to their diet. You just absolutely, you just have to add carbs back to your diet. So we typically recommend more complex carbs to begin with, like oatmeal and sweet potatoes and twice baked white potatoes. But you cannot be losing that kind of weight if you're at or below a healthy weight level. So that's what it really depends on, is if you're at or below a healthy weight level. Got to put the brakes on that weight loss. Okay, any other questions? So just to reiterate, remember, when your genetics are ready, then you'll get an email from us, from either myself or Ann, probably come from Ann or Angie's email, and it will include your complete genetic report, which is well over 200 pages, and it'll include your genetic summary, and then your genetic action steps. So most people only look at the summary and look at the highlighted things on the summary or look at the action steps. But that is explained thoroughly on the 2 videos on the genetic page. So look at those 2 videos on the genetic page, and you'll get an idea of what the next steps are. And then you can jump on our genetic Zoom call. It's, I think, the 1st and 3rd Thursday of the month. It's listed on the genetic page. So that will help. Or you can just ask your questions on these 2 Zoom calls. Either one, it's just fine. So. All right, no other questions? I thought this is a good verse for today. Listen to advice and accept instruction. In the end, you'll be wise. Of course, we need to be asking questions. We need to be seeking for truth. We need to be diligent in our studies, certainly in our studies of the Word, to show ourselves approved so that we're ready in season and out to answer questions and help people in their journey as well. And remember that our journey, no matter how difficult it is, it has a purpose, godly purpose. And believe me, God's purpose isn't just to glorify us on earth for us to have a wonderful life. God's purpose is to mold us and shape us into the image of His Son so that we may spend eternity for Him and with Him and learning about Him. And that's really what our purpose is. And we need to just trust in all the things that happen in our life. Trust that God has a greater purpose that we will not most likely be able to figure out or even come to a knowledge of when we're on this earth. We'll know about it when we get to heaven. And we'll spend eternity seeing His glory, learning about Him more and more on a daily basis. And it's going to be glorious. And this sliver of a time that we spend on earth is nothing compared to eternity, forever, forever, and ever, and ever, and ever. Just glorifying Him and learning about Him. It's going to be glorious. Doesn't mean we don't do our work and we spend time wisely here. That's what we're supposed to do. That's why you're here. But we just keep in remembrance that ultimately the Lord's purpose will prevail. All right, thanks for today, and I'll see you Wednesday. Make sure you submit your questions on our Zoom call form on our site. And I love you all. I'll be praying for everybody. Bye-bye.